I love that combination in food where you get soft, crunchy, flavorful, juicy, and it all comes together in this wonderful little UKOY dish. This was just so good, I might go in for another bite. Hi everyone, my name is Janelle and you're watching Everyday Jane, where I make videos on simple living with a focus on delicious homemade food, which brings us to today's recipe, which is UKOY, also known as savory vegetable pancake. It's delicious. I can't wait to show you. So let's get started. So this is a really simple recipe, but instead of recipe, I want to say formula because really it's interchangeable. Today I have a number of different vegetables that I'm going to throw in these vegetable pancakes. It's great for the end of the week meal when you don't know what to cook and you've got a little bit of everything in your fridge, just odds and ends. So I'm just going to introduce you to the ingredients here a little bit before we get started. First and foremost, we have these, what are these called?
Green sprouts.
So these are bean sprouts, and this is so important because UKOY, which is a Filipino vegetable, actually shrimp pancake, but we're doing a vegetarian version today. This is what's in it. This is the base. This is usually the only part of the pancake, but today we're gonna incorporate a lot of other vegetables in addition to this. We've got some broccoli that was frozen, and I just thawed it and chopped it up here. We've also got some red onions that I chopped as well. We have just a random carrot that I'm not even gonna peel, I'm just gonna use as is. A small, look how adorable this is, potato, and then a bunch of green onions. I love green onions and they're perfect in a vegetable pancake. It's very common in a lot of other Asian cultures. There was this one particular amazing video that I saw Manchi do on her Korean cooking YouTube channel. It was amazing, and this is highly sort of influenced by that as well as the Filipino UKOY. I'm going to start here with my potato, and what we want to do is just chop them fairly thinly, sort of in small little batons. Because this is pan fried, we're not cooking this potato ahead of time. We really want to make sure that they're sliced thinly so that they cook evenly in the skillet. So I'm just gonna chop. I have all my potatoes here chopped. I'm gonna chuck them right in the bowl. And as I mentioned, this is a formula. So I'm going for about 3 cups roughly of vegetables. So these carrots are gonna be chopped in a similar fashion as the potatoes. We are looking for thin pieces. So I'm cutting the carrot into thirds and then into thirds lengthwise again. You all know the drill, you know how to cut carrots. For the home cook, I don't think most of us are too concerned with a perfect julienne or anything like that. At least I'm not. And you'll know that pretty quickly from watching my videos. So if any of you ever have that problem, I don't know if you saw that on the camera, that my cutting board was slipping around. So what you can do is take one of these kitchen towels, lay it down. It even works better if you dampen it, and then ta-da, and it's pretty steady. All right, so I'm gonna chuck these carrots in the bowl. If you notice, my roots are already cut off because I put that in my garden where I'm growing these spring onions by just putting the roots right in the soil. So the way that I'm going to cut these green onions is I want to recognize that the green leafy part typically will cook faster than the white sort of stalk bit. So I'm gonna cut these ends smaller so that we evenly cook everything. And once I get to these, I'm just gonna roughly chop in about 1-inch pieces. I'm gonna put this right in the bowl. Next, we're going to use, I keep on forgetting what these are called. Bean sprouts. Next, we're gonna use these bean sprouts. I'm gonna put them in the bowl. That's about a cup worth. We're gonna use our nice handy dandy frozen broccoli, thawed, as well as some green onions. Just gonna toss this up with my hands here. Okay, so now that I have my vegetables all chopped up, approximately 3 cups or so, I'm going to work on my batter, and I'm not gonna use 2 bowls for this. This is all about really easy, let's say, weeknight cooking. So I'm going to start by putting about a cup of flour straight into this bowl. So that goes straight in. I'm gonna move on to the salt. About 1 teaspoon of salt for about 8 ukoi. And I would say maybe about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. This is optional. This is just for an extra boost in flavor. I love garlic. I have no shame in using garlic powder. So now we're going to add 1 cup of water right in here, and we'll mix and we'll see where we're at. So the thing with a formula and not a recipe is that you might have to adjust depending on what vegetables you use, how small you cut them, how tightly they fit in, the 3-cup measurement. It's all going to change. And what you're aiming for is really a light coating of the vegetables. You want the vegetables to be sort of suspended in a thin batter rather than, a couple specks of veggies in like a pancake sort of situation. You're going to see little clumps of flour start to dissolve in that water. As you can see, there isn't a ton of batter. It's mostly vegetables. So that's what you're looking for, right? Each of the vegetables are lightly coated with batter, and that's gonna make for a delicious vegetable-filled ukoi. In ukoi, typically you would put a piece of shrimp on top of each of these vegetable pancakes, and you would also use a natto powder or a chuete or a chiote, depending. It really enhances the color of this. I don't have it, because if I did, I would use it in this recipe, but for now, we're gonna leave it as is, but if you have it, please do use it. It is a beautiful addition to this dish. Ukoi is one of the dishes that I made growing up. I always preferred it without the shrimp. My mom would always make me a few ukoi without the shrimp on top, and I think that's why I came up with this variation with even more vegetables in it, because why not? I'm going to use a cast iron skillet that's got shallow sides. And if you can see just how much oil, it's really just enough to coat the bottom here. And I want to preheat it so it's on medium heat so that when I put the pancakes on, you can hear that immediate slight sizzle. So I'm going to use a scoop. I'm going to do overflowing. It's a 1/3 cup. You can use a 1/2 cup, whatever you'd like. And I'm going to lay it right on here. So what I'm going to do is use the bottom of this cup measure to sort of spread out my veggies. And what you want is the veggies to be in a pretty even layer. You do not want super thick pancakes because the vegetables are going to have a hard time cooking in that case. So I'm just going to thin it out a bit. Don't worry, it's meant to look rustic. So at this point, it'll take about 2-3 minutes on each side. And once it's all crispy on the bottom, we'll flip it. Okay, so I think it's time to do a flip. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. Wonderful. Do you see that color right here? That's the char that I was talking to you about. In the cast iron, you get that beautiful char. All of my ukoi have been fried, and here they are. They look amazing. And I think that 3 cups of vegetables ended up yielding us about 8 ukoi, actually 7 ukoi, and then 1 little baby one, and that's the one I'll test for you later on. But before we dig in, obviously we have to pair it with some sort of a dip or a sauce. And for Filipinos, a vinegar-based sauce is the way to go. So I have here just 3 ingredients: vinegar, some green chili peppers, and freshly cracked black pepper, pretty coarsely ground. And I've been having it sit in this container while we cook that whole thing, just so that the flavors really concentrate. And the last ingredient that I want to add to this sauce is just a bit of salt. I would say about, I don't know, 1/4 teaspoon. That's how easy this vinegar sauce is. Okay, so as I promised, I've got my little baby one to try, and I couldn't be any more excited. So I want to get a piece with a little bit of spring onion, with all of that bean sprout, all of it. A little potato there at the end. Dip it in all the way, full dunk, and let's try it. I love that vinegar sauce. and the spring onion comes through, and I love how the bean sprout, even though it did soften, it still stayed that little bit crisp, and it got a little crunchy on the edges, and it all comes together in this wonderful little ukoy dish. I really hope you give this a try. Ukoy was one of my favorites growing up, and I can't wait for you to tell me what you think. So comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.